Hi, my name is Rachel Paxton. Today I'm going to show you how to make elderberry peach jam. In this course, you'll learn how to make elderberry peach jam. I'll lead you through the process step by step. I'll give you the recipe and canning supply list you can download and print out for future reference. You'll also gain the confidence you need to try more canning recipes on your own. For this recipe, you'll need 6½ cups of fresh elderberries, 2 cups of peaches peeled and chopped, 7 cups of sugar, a ½ cup of bottled lemon juice, and 2 pouches of liquid pectin. You might be wondering what elderberries are. People either know what they are or they don't. They grow in the wild. We live in the Northwest. There's a lot of elderberries around here. I don't know if they grow in other parts of the country, but they grow in the wild. They're like little tiny blueberries. They're a lot smaller than blueberries and a little bit darker. I'll show you a picture of them. So hopefully you can find some to try this. Elderberries are very good for you. They're very high in antioxidants, and if you like to make home remedies, elderberries are used for cold syrup. You can make elderberry syrup and people use it for cold syrup, so it's really good for you. You'll need a boiling water canner, canning rack if you're using your own stock pot, a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel, and 4 pint canning jars. This is what a boiling water canner looks like. If you don't have one, you'll need to get one. You can get them at Walmart, and you can also order them online at Amazon. There's a link in the supply list in your course materials. They're about $30. We'll get you everything you need to get started canning. This canning rack comes with the boiling water canner, but if you want to use your own stock pot for canning, you need to have a canning rack like this to put in the bottom of your pan. They're about $10. If you're going to use a stock pot, make sure it's tall enough that you can have 1 inch of water above your jars. You need a jar lifter to take your jars in and out of the pan. Wide mouth funnel to easily get your food in the jars. You want to fill your canner about 3/4 of the way full of water and start it heating on the stove. You want to sterilize your jars, rings, and lids in the dishwasher. I use a dishwasher because the other way to do it is to boil them in water on the stove, and that takes up a lot of room on your stove. If you do it in the dishwasher, they'll just be sitting there ready for you when you're ready, so just leave them in there till you need them. You can reuse your rings and jars, but you can't reuse your lids. You need to use new lids every time. They're very inexpensive. Make sure you have extra on hand so you don't run out. This is what elderberries look like. They are ripe in September, and I think they last till October, and they're very small and they grow in big bushes. And so you want to rinse them and remove the stems as well as you can. Place them in a large stock pot and add about a ½ cup of water and bring to a boil. Simmer until the elderberries are soft, about 5 to 10 minutes. Crush them with a potato masher to get some of the juice out. Then you're going to place them in a jelly bag to strain the juice. If you don't have a jelly bag, you can also use 3 layers of cheesecloth put in a colander, and then you put the berries in the cheesecloth and the juice will drip through the colander into the bowl that you put under it. And these jelly bags are really nice. They're easy to wash and they sit on top of your bowl. They cost less than $10. You can get them on Amazon. I put a link to this on your supply list. So they're very handy if you're wanting to make jelly. You want to measure the liquid and place it in a large stock pot. You need exactly 1.5 cups of juice for this recipe. If you don't have the exact amount of juice, you need to add a little water to it so you have the exact amount. You want to peel and chop your peaches to make 2 cups. Stir your lemon juice, peaches, and sugar into the elderberry juice and bring it to a boil that cannot be stirred down. Stir in your liquid pectin. Only liquid pectin is recommended for this recipe for it to set correctly. Heat it to a boiling that cannot be stirred down and boil for 1 minute. Skim any foam off the top with a metal spoon. Ladle the jam into sterilized jars, leaving a 1/4 inch headspace. A headspace is the amount of space between the top of the jam and the top of the jar. The headspace is really important because your food will expand when you heat it. Jam doesn't expand very much. That's why you only need a 1/4 inch. But just make sure that you follow whatever your recipe says. Wipe the rims of the jars with a damp paper towel or dish towel to make sure you don't have any food on the top of the jars. That will keep your jars from sealing. Place your rings and lids on the jars. As you see, the peaches ended up at the top of the jar. There's no way to keep the peaches distributed throughout the jar because the jelly is so thin. The peaches float right to the top, but you can stir it up after you open the jar to eat it. Process the jars in the boiling water canner for 5 minutes. If the water is not boiling when you put the jars in, that's okay, but don't start the timer until the water is boiling. Make sure there's an inch of water above the jars, and if you live above 1,000 feet in elevation, you need to process them for longer than 5 minutes, so check an altitude adjustment chart in your course materials. Use a jar lifter or tongs to remove the jars from the canner. Set the jars on a towel on the kitchen counter to cool. Let the jars sit until they're cool. You should hear a pinging noise when the jars seal. Sometimes they will seal in the canner, but sometimes it takes a few minutes for them to seal when they come out of the canner. So you can tell if the jars are sealed or not by pressing your finger in the middle of the lid, and if it goes down and up again, it is not sealed, and you need to put those in the refrigerator and eat them. If it is sealed, you can put it away in a dark, cool area for 1 to 2 years or more. If you have any jars that don't seal, you can reprocess them with a new lid. So just put a new lid on the jar and make sure you wipe it off real well, put a new lid on it, and process it again, and then it should hopefully seal the next time. But if you just have one jar that does that, it's easier just to put it in the refrigerator and eat it. So this jam is a little bit different than other jams. I've probably never made jam with elderberries before. They're very sour on their own, but when you add the sugar and the peaches to them, they're a lot sweeter, and it has a really good flavor, and it's healthy too. So give it a try and see what you think.